Welcome to the Real Salty Podcast. Please join Stephanie and Caitlin as we dive into life in Florida, the good, the salty, and everything in between. We'll chat about real estate, family, sports, building a community, and all the unique things that make living in the Sunshine State so special. Plus, we'll bring on some amazing special guests to share their stories and expertise along the way. So grab your favorite drink and get ready to laugh, learn, and get a little salty with us.
Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back for another episode of the Real Salty Podcast. We're so happy that you've chosen to join us here, whether you're watching us and my funny facial expressions or listening on your daily commute, or maybe you're locked in the bathroom like my fiance and think you have to spend an hour on the toilet. No, I was kidding.
Maybe. Well, at least yours listens to it. Mine says, why would I listen to another hour of you yapping?
Honestly, that was a shameless plug. I don't think Trent even listens to us either. Love you. Yeah.
Exactly. I just noticed that I was wearing a sweatshirt. I mean, it's not really even sweatshirt weather anymore. It was so
actually,
nice today.
I think we're still recovering from our little cold front because it was 79 degrees today.
Really nice. I mean, and it's supposed to be like this for a while.
Good.
Like, we're not going back.
Good.
I mean, that's kind of a political statement. We're not going back.
You can't make us. I thought I heard Dennis Phillips like whisper something.
We're not going back. That's what Kamala's like. Yeah. No, we're too busy building America great again, right? And celebrating Gulf of Americas.
That's right. You know what? I almost walked out and saw it today just because it was so freaking nice outside.
It was so nice out. And I'm actually down at Woody's. That's exactly what I'm going to be doing, is that I told my father last night that I was going to beat the joke into the ground when I would tell the customers where they were going to be taking their jet ski. I would tell them they're going out to the Gulf of Americas, and just to get a reaction.
I kind of love that.
Yeah, and I'm literally going to beat it.
I can't think of a faster way for someone to either be like, hell yeah, or be like,
oh yeah, we're going to know exactly where they stand right away.
Yep. And I just want you to just completely blank stare back at them like, no reaction, because I want their complete and honest reaction with it. Yeah.
I'm going to ask them, when's the last time you bought eggs? We actually had some expire in our we have a drink refrigerator in our garage, and we keep a couple we keep obviously some leftover, some spillover things from the regular refrigerator. And Michael came in last night and it was like an 18 pack of eggs. Like, I feel like I need to go to church. And he's like, Steph, these expired like a week ago. So when Cooper comes in town, he eats a ton of eggs. So eggs and milk are what he eats. So we had them left over from, now Cooper's back in college. And so they expired. I was literally like, I think I need to go to church over the fact that we're throwing away eggs right now, but you can't eat them. I mean, what are you going to do? I mean,
hey, I'm going to interject real quick, because something that I learned from, I guess it would be Trent or his family, his mom, I'm not, his Grammy maybe, I'm not sure who taught him, but the expiration date on the eggs is, I'm not saying like completely TBD, but there's a way to test it actually. And you'd be surprised, because when I went to go do that for the first time after Trent and I were living together, I remember he stopped me and was like, well, wait a minute, how far gone are they? And I'm like, they're gone. Like, from the date, there's a test you can do. So you literally I use like my glass Pyrex measuring cups, fill it with water, enough to submerge the egg, okay? If the egg stays sunken and laying on its side, it's perfectly fine. If it's still touching, if it's still
come out of the garbage,
I don't know what's in your garbage.
Not after 80-degree weather, probably not. I'm going to say that they're all going to float.
No, yeah, it's 79 degrees. Nope, they're gone now. But here's the thing too.
Like his ice tray, remember with the hurricane?
Yes. Yeah.
And I did that. I don't even know if I ever told you that, but because my parents were, I'm totally jumping stories right now, but
it's okay.
Because my parents were out of town when the second hurricane hit us, they were cruising up in New England. I knew we weren't going to be at my parents' house right when it was hitting. So I was like, boys, come back over here. This is crazy. We should not be splitting up. So I had them put water in the freezer, in both freezers, because they have a beverage cooler too. And their fridge.
Raising
My
them
parents
right.
raised
I
me
like
right.
it. Yeah.
My parents raised, but I actually did that trick so we knew that the power never turned off. So they were probably the only place on Pinellas County that didn't lose power, but it was our way of knowing.
Yep. Yep. Yeah. And just for the lovely listeners that weren't following our ping pong matches as quickly as possible as we did, a couple
Yes.
episodes back, actually, I believe it was one of our very first hurricane episodes we did. I talked
Yeah.
about kind of a DIY trick that, again, Trent, love you. You fill up a cup with water, freeze that water, and then take it out right before you evacuate. Put a coin, I don't care, penny, nickel,
Yep.
dime, who gives a shit? Put it on the top of the frozen ice and put that cup back into the freezer. If you lose power, the ice in the cup will begin to melt and then the coin
Yes.
will sink. You can tell normally, like, oh shit, it's at the bottom of the cup. We lost power for multiple days. All of this food is spoiled. If it is still at the top of the cup, then you know you didn't lose power, like
Yep.
Stephanie's mentioning about
Yep.
her test at the parents' house. I've actually come back to a time or two where it's like sunken down just slightly. Like it like lost power, but then it wasn't long enough to where it started to sink a little
Was the
bit, but then
problem.
it refroze because it came back. I forget what we were talking about
Oh, we were
before we
talking
got.
about the eggs. I don't even know
Oh, the
how I got
eggs.
to
No,
that
no, no, you're
subject.
fine.
So
So if the egg itself, right, is laying on its side, totally fine. Okay. If it's still sunken at the bottom, but it starts to kind of point like vertical, if it's still at the bottom, it's still probably okay. And if it floats, gone. It
yeah,
gone.
I'm
It
pretty
rocked.
sure now they would flow. But yeah,
Well,
I
yeah,
mean,
now they're gonna float.
I actually was like, oh no, this feels like it's sacrilegious. Of course, with all the tariff news today, and granted, I'm sure there's a long term plan in figuring this out, but I think everyone took a pause this morning and was like,
I've
oh my
been
gosh,
told.
what's about ready to happen?
What's that stupid Indiana Jones? I think it's Indiana Jones where he goes, "We have top men working on it," and they're like, "But who?" And they go, "Top men."
Yeah,
No, or is that a Family Guy
it's on a
spoof?
need to know basis.
Top men,
Top
right?
men, and it's on a need to know basis. Just trust, trust.
No, it is. No, it is. Is at the end of Indiana Jones, right? When they have that crate of the Ark and they're putting it in that huge warehouse where no one will ever be able to find it again. It's like top men or something like that.
Top men. So top men are working on our future of
I've,
egg prices.
I allegedly this was all part of the plan. I
I
don't
guess it
know.
was.
There's a
It
plan.
was. We're just gonna trust. We're just gonna trust. What is that? What is that TikTok that's out? We listen
We
and we
listen and
don't
we don't
judge.
judge. And then I feel like it needs to be followed by the Kermit meme of like,
I know. We listen. That's what we're just gonna keep saying. Every time we hear something that sounds wackadoo, we listen and we don't judge.
don't judge. Gotta fix my face. Sorry.
I know. So
Yeah.
anyway,
Anyway, but hey, us being a bunch of just, football gals over here, it was a
yes,
little weird this weekend. Personally, I didn't watch football because it was the Pro Bowl.
yeah.
Okay.
And the Pro Bowl feels like you're watching
Flag football.
yeah, I mean, pretty much. And then watching a whole bunch of incredibly paid athletes run around and act like they're the coolest with each other. Michael and Brody were at it, and that's the second year in a row Brody's gone to it. It's a really good time it's a really nice time.
I would imagine that if you went in person, there's a lot to do more fandom wise. You
Yeah,
have a better chance of being close and personal with your favorite players and getting autographs and everything like
yeah.
that. Oh, the only thing I did watch was the very pregame part of it where Peyton and Eli were trash talking because they're the
That's
chiefs
what
or
they do. Yeah.
the coaches or whatever of the
Yes.
different
Yeah.
teams.
Yeah. That's what they do.
And I can't remember which one it was. I think it was Peyton. He's like, well, here's the thing about Joe. He doesn't know it yet, but he's playing the entire game.
Oh gosh.
He said that about Joe Burrow, and I was just like, and then the
Yeah,
next,
Joe Burrow didn't look like he had so much fun, apparently.
oh,
So Michael loves Joe Burrow. Well, I might need to use the word loved. And so he has his jersey. And yeah, so he didn't wear Commanders because none of them, there really wasn't anyone there from the Commanders. So
still
he
saw a lot
this
of Commanders jerseys in the
yes, yes.
stands from some of the
So
things that
he
I saw.
said, well, maybe I'll wear my Joe Burrow one since he's going to be there. So he went there and Joe played the first quarter and then he was checked out for the rest of it. He was sitting on a bench. A couple people approached him and tried to engage with him. And I mean, at one point, they were like, maybe he's doing some interviews and we just don't know. And that's why, but it wasn't a good day for Joe, I guess. Joe wasn't having fun. Poor Joe.
No.
Yeah, Joe had an amazing season. Amazing. And then
Sorry, did you see my
Caitlin
face? I
doesn't
went,
like. Yeah, Caitlin doesn't care. Caitlin doesn't care, but he had a really, really good season. But the problem is that, yeah, I don't really know. It's all literally like hearsay from what Michael and Brody saw. But they had a really, really good time. So they went to that. And, fortunately, it's in Orlando. I mean, it's been kind of everywhere, but I think it's going to stay in Orlando moving forward.
so I asked Trent this question, okay, because you're mentioning now that this is
Yeah.
Brody's second time going, in your own personal family experience in Orlando. So I said something because there was a comment that was made in some of the pregame that I had on the background at the house, and it was like, it's always great to be here in Orlando. Like one of the players said, like it's a given, it's always there. So I was like,
Yeah.
is it always there? And Trent was like, it is now. And he goes, but it was a big to do because it used to, and he reminded me, it used to be in Hawaii.
Hawaii. Yeah. My parents actually won a trip like forever ago. I don't even know what grade I was in.
Man, that's
Forever
awesome.
ago that they got to go to the Pro Bowl, and I don't even know. I literally don't even know how they won the trip. That clearly was irrelevant to me, but they went to Hawaii and they,
Oh,
so
they probably called into like a radio station. It was like K95.7. You're the
they probably
1700
did. Name
caller.
the top 10 hits. And you get to go to the Pro Bowl in Hawaii. And my mom was like, do. She would win it too. She would absolutely win it. Name the songs and who they're written by and who's their choreographer, who does it all. Like she would name all of it.
And who was the bassist sleeping with the year that the album came out?
She probably would know that. I mean, she's a magazine, like the People magazine walking. She just loves it. She just loves it. Yeah. So, which also then goes to like the pop. Last night was probably the first night the Grammys were on last night, and it was probably the first night I've watched the Grammys in a long time. And they were really late. They went really late, way past my bedtime.
That's why I recorded it. I have to rewatch it.
Yeah, my 16-year-old wanted to watch it, so we watched it together. And the musical performances were fantastic. They were fantastic.
You're so lucky because you have like your kids to like keep you abreast on like the whole time would just, and this were things we say now. Trent and I'd be like, who the fuck is that? Who is that?
Oh,
We would have to Google who they are. And I don't want to
say that. And then Flynn fills me in with who they might be. There was one woman that I literally will butcher all of their names. So there's no point in me talking about any of them, but the music was fantastic.
Wouldn't know any difference.
The music was was really, really fantastic. And obviously I'm a big Taylor Swift fan. So Flynn and I were giggling because she was wearing a red dress. So she was really easy to spot the whole night. And so we were, kind of fanned out by that, and we were watching. Yeah, exactly. And we would be giggling because she's also one of the biggest cheerleaders you're going to ever watch during anything. Like she is 100% cheerleader. And so she's the one that's, even if it's not even like We Are the World played because they did a tribute to Quincy Adams. And so they sang that song, and you would have thought that it was like celebration song being played the way she was dancing. Like she's a huge, she always gets placed in the most prominent spot, right? So the camera can pan everywhere, but she doesn't care. She dances the entire time, and it's so nice to watch it. But so we watched it last night. I know that you had said earlier that you taped it, which is obviously a word that you and I would both use because we're from a long time ago.
Oh my God. Yes. Things we say.
Yes.
I taped it.
You taped it. But I followed right along, and I didn't even notice it until right now that's what you had said. But I mean, then it transitioned to DVR'd. That was it for a little while. I mean, with YouTube, it would be called like add to my list. I don't know. I don't know, but you should, it's really good. And then you can the only part that I would say that was hard, I mean, there's always going to be a little bit of controversy, and it's too bad Billie Eilish didn't win because I actually think she's amazing and her album was really good. But the only thing that I would say, as two people, meaning you and I, and then my daughter and like us that were watching it, that was hard was, they were being incredibly sensitive understandably, because it was the first like event that had happened since all the wildfires. And so they spent a ton of time with the QR code. Trevor Noah was constantly promoting, like, giving back, we're a community, all these different things. And I'm certainly not taking anything away from that because, soot is not replaceable. At least, like, there's some
Right.
things like that. But it was really like, even my 16-year-old daughter said, how come we didn't get one of these? Because she saw the devastation here. And, so that was the only part that it was kind of like, as someone that just went through a massive tragedy, and granted, I lucked out in most of it, but we still went through it
Yeah.
mentally, like,
Yeah.
still went through it.
I got perturbed. You're fine. You're in a safe space right now because I completely understand what you're saying. And the thing is that timeline wise, there was like I think it wasn't technically postseason game yet, but there was like a final, the very next NFL Sunday or something like
Yeah.
that. They did something, for the recent hurricane survivors of Helene,
Yeah.
Hurricane Helene. I remember that, and then they had to do another one when Milton hit, and it was like, and then it kept being like, but even during the game like that, it wasn't how I would imagine you're
Yeah.
describing it is
Yeah.
during this, award show. Now,
Yes.
granted, that would be like, I guess, us having the Grammys in Tampa right
Yeah,
after
yep,
hurricane.
and the Bucks did have a game right afterward, and, like, the Glacier family has done a ton of stuff, who, like, is super dominant in the Tampa area, and they actually have right now a whole bunch of scholarship money that you just had to tell them your story, and they're gonna be handing out scholarships. So, but there's still, I mean, I don't know any other way to kind of pull this to light other than saying I still cannot not cry about it when I think about it. So
No,
it was just, like, hard to be like, I mean, there was no chance I was scanning a QR code.
I know.
It was just like,
Oh,
no, how about if I just help my neighbor? Because, yeah, it
and it
just,
is crazy when you think about it because, we obviously haven't forgotten about it. We're still living it.
yeah,
And there's so many other people that still are. And it still is so fresh for us. But like, it brings me back to the mindset of like, when I wasn't someone that had been impacted by something like
yes,
this, it is an out of sight, out of mind. I
it
mean,
is.
shit, there's people that live 2 miles away where everything around them and everything in their life is normal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think I remember telling that story about the dentist that I went to, the dental hygienist, like, didn't was acting like it was just, what's on tap.
Yeah.
And her boss had lost everything. So and not that we need to go down this road again because I know that, like, but it's just like that was the only part that was a little bit like, and so the LA fire department were the ones that did a couple of the presentations, which was so nice. I mean, they all need to be recognized all the time. And I mean, that was soot that they had to deal with, and the fire. I would hands down take a hurricane over fire any day.
Yeah, well, and then let's also talk about too the after,
And they
like
couldn't prepare
100%
for
I
it
agree with
either.
that, but like even, as bad off as so many are still in the position here in our area and along the entire west coast of Florida, let's remember about the poor people up in the Appalachians
Oh my
that are
gosh.
freezing right now. They
Yeah, they
live
live in
in
tents. Some of
freezing
them live in
temperature
tents right now.
and it's winter, like dead
Winter.
ass winter. And I hate to be, I hate to be that person where like, well, we can sleep under a bridge. That's
Yes.
not what I'm trying to say, but it's like,
But down by the river.
that is a whole nother, like,
Yeah.
can you imagine with all the people that are still displaced or living outside of their homes right now in Madeira, if we had -10 weather?
No, I mean, I thought for three weeks we had winter here that were in the 40s, and I was even thinking all these people that are living in their cars or live, and
Thought
some of
about
them choose to. I mean, some of them do choose to, but there's some that live in tents or they're forced to do. I mean, it's so that was the only part that was a little bit hard with the Grammys, but the music was excellent. It really was. I even there was a couple of artists that I have no idea. I mean, no idea, and there's I literally don't know. And even when like the artist would start, I was like, and then by the time I was like, oh my God, this girl's amazing, but it's just not my genre. But it was really good. You'll enjoy it. It's just a nice, you can fast forward through most of it too. I mean,
Not that he's a tyrant and I can make him watch it if I really wanted to, but I'm also going to do Trent the courtesy of waiting till he goes on like a 10-mile bike ride and
yeah,
then I'll just
exactly. Oh,
go
well, you
through
could,
it.
well, so I always say that, and Michael would watch through that too, but at least then you don't have to listen to the commentating. That's why it's
the,
nice to watch.
the funny thing
Is
is,
that
like
they
I
can
said,
go on their little ride and you can just sit back and you can watch it and you don't have to listen to, oh my gosh, ah, what is she wearing?
I was going to say,
Why
you
does she
say,
have
what is
that
she
thing on
wearing?
her head?
I'm going to be like, who's this slut?
Totally.
I don't think we can say that. We
Exactly.
can't say that. And this is so not shaming the sluthood, but just,
No, you got to be
like,
proud to be a hoe. But it's
do
just,
you?
I mean, that you at least when he goes on his bike ride, I would imagine if Trent is anything like Michael, that is one of the nice things that you don't have to. You can watch it guilt free or without having to hear the ridicule behind it.
Like I
Because
said,
it's easy to. It's easy
I
to.
shouldn't. It is. I shouldn't. And again, I shouldn't act like Trent's just constantly popcorn. Just like, oh, this is
Well, I
my dad.
probably was actually acting like he was. You weren't. It was me. I was making him out to be
Oh
that.
no, 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 no. You're fine. But I just had a memory where I remember my dad. God bless him. He was the worst. I remember when I still lived at home. My mom and I would just be trying to watch, I don't know, a Dateline
Anything.
or like anything, and he it was a
He
teasing
just would
because he
punch
was
holes in it.
the way well, and the way that he showed affection was like the kid
Yes.
on the
Yeah.
playground that
Yeah.
if he didn't tease you, he didn't like you,
Yeah.
right? So
That's
he'd
right.
come moseying in and would say like, "What's this trash?"
Right.
So
Yeah, just like punch holes in it. It's
and
easy to.
Trent won't do that, but it'll be funny because it'll be about like, let's just say it's an hour and a half long program, or for example, the Grammys is what, like 2 hours, two and a half
I think it
hours.
started at 8 and it finished at like 11:45. It was really late this year. It was really late.
Okay, well, that sounds like a Mariah Carey concert, but
Yeah.
okay. So what I will say is that after about a certain amount of time, depending on the patience of the day, it'll be like, all right, I'm sorry. Can we please watch something else and you can watch
Yeah.
this later? So he tries, but I get it because trust in the fact that I am way less patient when it comes to his choices. Where I'm like, no,
That's funny.
absolutely not. You can watch that on your own bro time. No, not
Yeah.
watching it. He
Yeah,
will bend.
I'm probably the one
I
that's a
say
little bit
no.
more patient. But yeah.
Absolutely not. Anything end of days, the end is near, zombies, apocalypses, all of it. I'm good. I don't want to watch it. Like, I might be the only person in America now. Granted, I'm not going to tell you that there weren't times where I was enthralled with The Walking
Oh my
Dead,
gosh.
but again, no fault, no, like, please don't come for me. Okay. I get it. It is one of the highest grossing television shows, highly acclaimed, all the things. But to me, I couldn't, I watched it all seasons because Trent made me, but it's a never ending horror
No,
movie.
it actually, you're absolutely right.
They're
I
never
think that
safe.
we were like really I
Ugh,
I'm fascinated with it, and I will say that I think when Michael really lost, well, Michael's a character, like he watches
but
shows
yeah,
for characters, and I
yeah.
watch them for the story. So there's already a division right
Well,
there.
spoiler alert right now.
Yeah,
Fast forward if you've never watched Walking Dead, because I have a feeling where you're about to give away a
yeah.
spoiler,
Sorry,
and it's the
spoiler
exact
alert.
same.
It
No,
happened
it's okay.
10
It's the
years
exact
ago.
same spoiler where I was like, I'm done. I'm done.
Yes.
Tell me which one it was for you, because I was like, nope.
When it was like Glenn, right, when he got killed,
Yeah, yeah. The
and
only reason I kept staying was because I'm like, who the hell is this vegan guy?
yeah, yeah, because he was a little intimidated. He was a little, yeah, yeah,
He was scary as hell, but for
yeah.
like the actor himself, and I don't know what his name
I
is
don't
right now
remember
off the
either.
top of
Yeah,
my
I'm
head,
awful with
but
it.
he
But that
kind of
was probably, I
he
think
kind
that
of
was the last episode that Michael was like, "Oh, I don't think I can watch any more of this." I have
see for
watched
me
a lot of it.
it was Carl. It was Carl.
Yeah. We still actually I have to tell you, we still were watching that. We actually were still watching it, but it was painful for Michael to watch because he was so frustrated with the show to begin with at that point. But
I was frustrated when she gave birth to the baby. I was frustrated because I was like,
when Lori did,
yes,
yeah.
Sorry. Okay.
Yeah.
I know we're like 10 years
No,
too
did
late.
you and then did you watch the most recent one with Nick and Mashawn where they, like, found each other again?
Yes.
That's
Yeah,
really I
the
actually really liked that. It was like the end
it
of
was like the
The Last of Us or something. I don't know what it was, but
yes.
yes.
Yes, we started that. I don't know how
I don't
many
think there
seasons.
was a lot of episodes in that one, though. I think it was just a few.
No, it's the guy with the stick and he's like going across the country. That one. That one.
Well,
And
and
it's the
remember Rick,
same.
like, got taken away allegedly, and then no one knew, but they have, like, a quick little
Sorry,
I'll
I
have to
gotta do
yeah,
it.
no, Google it, but there's a quick little, like, couple show where Michonne and Rick actually end up meeting up again.
Apparently there's a Daryl Dixon, The Book of Carol. I need to watch
Yeah.
that. Oh, Fear the Walking Dead. That's yep. And then The Ones Who Live. I didn't watch
Oh,
that
yeah,
one.
that's it. I think that was it, but yeah.
No, I saw Fear the Walking Dead, and that one, oh, that's the origin one where it's on the opposite coast. It's the
Yeah.
California one. Did you watch that one? That
Yeah.
was
I mean, yeah, obviously we moved it so when like Walking Dead was at its hype, we had moved in Connecticut from one house to another, like in one
keep
town
talking.
to another town. Yep.
We got to get more refreshments.
That's no problem. I'll just keep talking. And when we moved into the second home, I put up blinds and was acting like we were about ready to be attacked. I was truthfully out of control. I can look back now and say that I might have had some issues, but because I was so enthralled in the show at the time. And Cooper and I actually always say, like, I think we would make it till the end. Like, we're always talking about if we could make it till the end. And I remember we asked Michael once, like, how far along do you think he'd make it? And he's like day one, I wouldn't want to run. I mean, I wouldn't, I mean, it's so funny though. It's so funny. But yeah. So I mean, I don't yeah, that one went on a long time, that's for sure. But that one was a good one. That was a good series.
It was a good one. It was a good, and again, it's funny because it's like a running joke to this day where, he's like, it's critically acclaimed, like everyone loves
Yes.
it, and you're the
Yeah.
only one. I'm just like, it's annoying.
Yes.
Like, and and we might not be friends after this, but at a certain point, Glenn was annoying. Not Glenn, what's his name? Rick.
Yeah.
Rick was annoying to me,
Yeah, no, that's right. I agree. I totally
not Glenn.
agree.
God rest his soul.
I
He was a
totally
saint.
agree.
Rick. Infuriating. Infuriating. Where I'm just like,
No,
God,
I
you're such a
agree.
man. You're such a man. Like,
Yeah.
thank God what's her face came along and was like, come here.
John, yeah, she's like, listen, this is how we're gonna do this. Yeah, no, that was a good series. I actually don't even know how we got on that conversation of The Walking Dead, but nonetheless,
Oh, but I kind of enjoyed it. So,
me too.
but bringing it back, I mean, what have you been up to? What's going on right now besides everyone else saying, when are the interest rates coming down?
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that I thought that they were, I mean, not that I have a crystal ball because I certainly don't, but I don't think I thought that they were going to come down. I mean, there's still that whole fear of if they come down, then people are going to put their house a little bit higher. So, and we are in a totally different situation in Florida where because of a couple of natural disasters, of course, but also because a lot of people bought in Florida and now have decided that that might not have been the smartest thing for them to do during the pandemic and are not traveling as much as they were, or, just life happens, that we have an influx of inventory. So for us, we really feel like we need, and it's too bad they can't do a regional cut. But I don't like, I don't think this is just a new normal. I mean, it really just is. The interest rates are not awful. I mean, they have been so bad in the past, in history in the past, but
I just
this is
wish
just a
we
new
could,
normal.
yeah, I wish we could just, I don't even know if this would work, but the 2%, the
Yeah.
3%. I mean, shit, we can even, in my brain, I'm going to 4%. Okay.
Yeah.
That's,
Yeah. I mean, even if a
we,
solid five,
that won't, it's not going to happen.
no, it's
It's not
not.
going to
Like maybe
happen
never in our lifetime ago.
unless something like
drastic
a
happens.
world pandemic
Yes.
happens again to
Yeah, a
spark.
war or something happens. There's just no way. I mean, it's the one way to help stimulate an economy, and the economy is not doing bad. And it, yeah, so I,
Well, they're still trying to curb a little bit of the inflation,
yes, the
so I mean,
inflation
it
is the
makes
hardest
sense.
part. And it, I, we'll see. But we
Wish
listen and
I
we
wish
don't judge.
yeah, we listen and we don't judge. And I trust me, I'm Trent and I, we're keeping our eye on things because personally we are going to look to purchase here probably before the end of the year. And trust me, I personally wish they would too. But
Yeah, well,
I
it's
under,
you and like, there's so many people that are on the sidelines right now that are just waiting for, the
and
table.
I'm going to say this.
Okay.
Trent doesn't know this 100%, but we're not going to wait. We're not going to wait for what I think is going to be the magic number. Like in your brain, okay, real estate wise, what is the magic number? Because currently, right now, the conventional 30-year is hovering at 6.9 and
Yeah,
change.
I just
I
had
mean,
seen that actually.
it's like, yeah, go for it.
Yeah, 30-year fix is at 7.05.
Never mind.
A 15-year fix is at a 6.46.
Okay. What
Well,
about it?
yeah,
What about an FHA right now?
an FHA is 6.46.
Oh, hot damn, that's a deal, right?
Right. And then a VA is 6.48. I mean, these are just the kind of the averages over the last few weeks. But I know that, yeah, I mean, I think that there's just a lot of people, you have to almost get in front of a mortgage person to really understand what your budget is too, so that you know what your monthly is. I mean, I remember we've talked about this plenty of times in real estate. If you can afford the down payment, you can afford the monthly, who the F cares what you're paying for it? You're not
Right,
gonna pay it
exactly.
off.
No,
No
nobody
one's
stays in
paying it
their
off.
house for 30 years
No
anymore.
one
Nobody,
does. So don't
well,
worry about that. Just afford your
disclaimer,
monthly.
we realize there's people that do, but it's a minority
Yeah.
situation.
If you're going into it to finance, don't worry about what you pay. Literally just make sure you can afford it.
Can you
Just make
afford it?
sure. Yeah.
Can
And
you
when you
afford it?
say
Yeah.
make sure you afford it, not where you do this, what does Zillow tell me I can afford? Where you literally have like a conversation, and Zillow does have the home loan officers, so get in front of one of them, but get in front of someone that actually can do it for a living, not me. I don't do that for a living, but get in front of someone that will actually give you a real number so that you know what your affordability is. I mean,
I
I just
mean,
was
and
working with
again,
a client that she told me what her monthly was, and I was like, okay, so let me see where, like, how far should I make this search? Okay, so we were under contract for a home, and she told me what her monthly payment needed to be, and I was like, math isn't mathing. I was like,
you're like, girl, this isn't even girl mathing.
this isn't any mathing. Like, this is not mathing. And so because I had the relationship with her loan officer that had done the pre-approval, I reached out to her and said, hey, like, I don't want to, I don't, we're under contract, so this is a problem. So I don't know what we need to do, but I just want you to know that, like, I just heard this, and I don't know what to do with this information. And so they ended up fixing it all, and like were able to get a couple of, and she ended up putting a little bit more money down that she was trying to hold off and maybe not put it down. And so it helped her out. But nonetheless, like I had said to myself, like, oh gosh, like that needs to be a telltale sign that we need to like get in front of that number before we move forward. So, but
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I think that I have like, I feel like there's so many people that are on the track getting ready to run it, right? Some of them last year they were in the stands. They might not even have showed up. Might not even have showed up to the game. But right now they're at least on the track trying to put their shoes on and get in it.
Well, and I feel like you mentioned earlier, right now we're a bit of a microcosm or a micro market,
Yes.
right? That we always talk about. That every market there's micro
Yeah.
markets and there's micros of the
Yeah.
markets and all the things. I feel like the supply that's in our area right now, you can have, like, what's that Ti song? Not to date us again. It's like you can have whatever you like it, and that sounds crass to
There
say
is all
because I
green
realize
when
a
you're pulling up the MLS right now.
it looks
Yeah,
like
when you
chicken
search
pox
on the MLS and you just hit map instead of, like, single
criteria,
family,
right?
yeah,
Filter,
single
yeah.
detail, it's like
It's everywhere. Yeah,
yeah,
it's everywhere. So, and that's telling of a certain thing, but at the same time, I feel like it's a temporary status
it is,
because
yeah,
I'm starting to get calls, and maybe you are, about people having more confidence in going now. We're
yep,
moving now. And it's not like physically moving okay, pack up the whole family. We're going to move
yes,
on down.
yeah,
Like I'm saying, they're like, you know what? Screw it. I'm not waiting for that because I realize right now I can ask for whatever the hell I want.
yes, no,
And
that's
you got
right, that's
people
right,
that
that's
are
right.
wheeling and dealing. I know we've talked about before about the rate buy down. I mean, guys, we're seeing trades happen.
Yeah,
There's
rate
a,
buy
I
down
just,
or credit at selling.
I just filled out a data entry form, which again is a red tape thing that your agent that you work with has to fill out to enter it into the MLS, the multiple listing service, which you always want to be on because it
Yes,
opens it up to more eyes and
yep,
not just Craigslist and get a serial killer. But so, with that being said, though, I'm getting a lot more calls with people that basically are seeing underneath financing available.
yes,
There is like not just other, but there's like trade and like
seller financing,
seller
yeah,
financing.
which
And
is
then
a
there's
big one.
also private lender financing, which I think is
Mm,
just a fancy way of saying hard money as
yeah,
we know it in the
yeah,
business,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Which, you know, again, not know we don't do that. We get you in touch with the professionals that are going to
yes,
talk to you about what would be in your best interest. But, you know, personally, and I don't want to, you know, just put it out there like I am anti hard money, but I've seen some things go down with some hard monies and some balloon situations. Just make sure that you talk to somebody before you get yourself into a situation that you can't get out of and it has financial ramifications that last a very long time.
very long
So,
time.
you know, a friend of a friend is great, but let's vet your
Yes.
friend, right?
Yeah, sometimes it's hard to, it's hard to, it's hard to manage your friends sometimes. I mean, you feel like it's a
Sometimes
little
it's
bit more
harder.
personal and,
Yeah.
it is. And I don't, as friendly as we may get during the transaction or relationship to find out, I don't take that lightly that I am employed by you and, you know, it's not always
We
going to be
have a
perfect.
fiduciary responsibility.
Yeah.
We have a fiduciary responsibility as real estate agents, and I don't think that people fully understand what that means. That means that we cannot do anything at the detriment, right,
Yeah.
to the person that we're assisting with this transaction, basically in more and less words. Okay,
Exactly.
do the right thing. That's what you're supposed to do. There's ethics. That's why there's FREC. That's why there's, you know, mitigations, and it's a serious thing, and you need to stay up to date. But again,
No,
just
it's true.
having
It's true.
a
But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think that everyone is just going to have no choice but for you just to life just happens and life is happening and life doesn't always happen the way that to be clean sometimes and so sometimes divorces happen. We talk about that those things are always going to happen and you just have to I, it's it's not a bad time to buy at all. Is it a bad time to sell? Not even. Not even if especially if you're going to turn around and buy. I mean, I just had this appointment last week with a gentleman that has a really great interest rate. I mean, and this is the same scenario that I've had with a lot of them is that they have a really great interest rate, but they're not happy with where they're at and they want to move forward. And so I had to say to this couple, listen, like, you may not get what you originally thought you were going to get on your home 7 months ago, but just so you know, you're going to make that up when you purchase. Now, like at this point, like if you thought you were going to get 7.25 last June, last May, and maybe you would have, I don't know, we don't know, and now you're only going to get 550. I
from what the
promise you, the
market says.
purchase that you were going to make was going to be the equivalent of the one from last June or May. And like, so
But
it's like
sellers also were thinking the same thing, right? Like, well,
yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
like, it's become like if you're still making money and you have equity in your home, you can't go wrong. You just can't.
No,
I mean,
no, you Yeah, you can't.
Michael and I have we would have loved to have sold when it was at its peak. We would have loved to have, but
But then
where the
but
F were we gonna go?
you would have had to buy at the pink. Exactly.
I would have been
Exactly.
living down by the river.
Hey man, that van life is more luxurious to this next generation. I swear. We
It is.
remember Chris Farley like eating government cheese, which according to the new administration, I can't guarantee that either.
I know. I know. Actually, this is a total like spin-off of this conversation, but I just love SNL. On
So
Netflix, they have this whole SNL documentary of the first episode and how they
of
got to the first episode, because I didn't know this. Like, obviously it started almost 50 years ago, because that's when like we're coming up on the 50th anniversary, right?
I'm just gonna interject you. I remember tuning in live for the 25th
Me
anniversary.
too. Me too. Me too.
And here we are.
Here we are. I know. Here we are. So they show on Netflix, they have this documentary it's a documentary, kind of quick play on of what was going on. And it goes all the way up until like basically they go live, and it was down to the wire, like as to whether or not they were going to run a rerun of a Johnny Carson show
Or let him do it.
or let him do it. Like literally, like it was counting down in the studio, and the gentleman that was like Lorne Michaels' boss was like, "Go live," like, and the rest is history. But it was really, really good. Like John Belushi had not signed his contract till like what it goes live at 11:30, right? Had basically not even signed his contract up until like 11:25.
And you think about too, like you just name dropped like John Belushi. You got to think
Chevy
like,
Chase,
okay,
right?
so
Yeah.
we're talking Chevy Chase. We're talking Dan Aykroyd.
Yes.
Excuse me.
Yes.
We're talking Gilda Radner.
Yeah, Gilda Radner.
Okay,
Yeah. She was in it. Yeah.
I can't remember the name of the other woman, but no, I mean just
all of them.
Genius.
Yeah.
Just absolute.
Yeah.
Generational comedic genius.
Totally.
One of those serendipitous planets aligning, damaged souls, however you want to say it, for one brief moment in the sky of a few years where it just was great.
And it was a total accident that it went. I mean, Lorne Michaels had this pipe dream of it happening, and he thought that they were all serious about them. And then he realized, oh my gosh, like they're actually just doing this to tick off Johnny Carson. They're not doing this for any other reason but to
as
play
like an idle threat. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a really, I mean, totally going off the world of real estate, but I can't help it.
Oh, you're totally fine. What taping program can I?
You can DVR it on Netflix.
Netflix. Okay, good.
You're like, okay, let me get that subscription and then cancel it again. I have a list.
I was going to be a normal person and be like, what streaming is this on? But then I thought just to kick it back to
I wouldn't have done that. That's pretty impressive. I'd have been like, what? I don't even know what I would have said. Where can I watch it? Yeah.
Where can I watch my program?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's actually, I mean, a little bit of it. It's pretty, I mean, just as someone that's as geeked out as SNL. But anyway, so yeah, going back to the market, it is just what it is, right? It just is what it is.
It is what it is. I mean, here's the thing too that I will say. I mean, I'm glad that we kind of skipped over this because earlier I was trying to say, what do you think it'll get to where people are like, this is what we train for. Go, 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 go. Because I don't, you know what I mean? Like, it's some airplane people are parachuting out of, and like, that's what I imagine. I'm like, they're everywhere. But no, I'm just kidding.
No, right, where it's just this frenzy again.
I honestly think that I feel like, and this is another show that I've recently started watching. Have you watched Squid Games?
Okay,
Squid Game?
So I have seen 2 episodes. Cooper and I were trying to find something to watch, and he's like, let's watch Squid Game. So it's hysterical. And I actually will be like, your friend blah, blah, blah would be in Squid Games. Like, yeah, it's unbelievable. I need to watch. Have you watched all of it?
No. So we're in the middle where we started watching the second season.
Okay. So I'm still on the first season. Not that I think you can
spoiler alert it, but if you think the first season's funny, I guess I was just trying to pay attention so hardcore that, I mean, there was a couple little, sarcastic lines here and there, but I had to say, I even made the comment to Trent the other night with the second season. I was like, this is funnier. Like they put purposely comedic relief
Well,
people in there.
that makes sense because they're definitely, I mean, I've only seen a couple of episodes and that is my intention to watch it because Cooper and I were really enjoying it, but it
Yeah.
is, I mean, it was poorly
Oh, it's
translated the first couple of episodes,
the first couple episodes, it takes
but
a
I
minute
still
to get
enjoyed
going.
it.
Oh, yeah, but then when he actually gets in, that's when it really takes off,
Well,
and
it's
that's when it
obvious they're going back. I mean, it's obvious that they're all going to go back because they, I mean, they have an addiction.
yeah,
I
right.
mean, there's no other way to say it, but they have an addiction. They're chasing a dream.
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're chasing this like, you know,
There's a couple times, though, where I had the epiphany where I was like, "He knows. He's a part of it." And Trent was like, "No way." And all I'm gonna say is that there's a couple people you're like, "You bastard."
okay.
So, anyway,
I would imagine there's got to be some people on the
or
inside that are
I shouldn't
encouraging this.
I shouldn't, completely profile. It could have been a bitch, bastard bitch, doesn't matter. But there's some few people where you're like, whoa. And the second season, I have to say, I have laughed out loud.
Oh, that's fine.
In my opinion, they purposely got these comedic relief characters to be like, this is how stupid human beings really are.
Yeah,
Like we if it's like us as the viewer, it's almost like a thank you for tuning in for season 2. Since you're a sick mother and went through the entire season 1, we've decided to reward you with a few dry
exactly.
humor
Oh,
jokes.
you liked that game.
Enjoy.
Welcome
Yeah.
to the Hunger Games.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean,
And it's
that's pretty
also
much what
yeah.
exactly.
No, and I forget what we were even talking about, but Squid Game. So I just feel like I don't feel like there's a special number mortgage rate wise where people are just going to line up like penguins and go, 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 go. I do feel like any kind of creep, there will be a certain amount of people it'll be enough. What I honestly think if they start dropping below 6.5, and again, we don't have future, we don't have crystal balls. I have nothing on good authority where some buyers have told me the second it drops between below 6.5, I will write a contract with you. That's not what I'm holding in my hand. I just feel like that would be enough too. The closer it starts to get down to 6 again. I mean, shit. Can you imagine, Stephanie, if it goes below 6 right now? I do think it'd be a free for all.
I do.
I think it would be like me first, firstborn children, blah.
Well, I actually think that there's still that almost has to be in junction with a lot of these sellers having come to Jesus moments about what they think their price is that they're going to get with their home. Like
That's
if
very
we
true.
could figure out a way to get them to where like I don't want to say it goes exactly back to 2019, but
Mm.
like just a little bit of an increase from 2019 and I think that that will be what also encourages them is when they realize like well these like if they start their Zillow search because that's where everyone starts if they start their Zillow search and they're oh for some reason I thought these prices were a lot higher. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And there was a couple that came into Woody's the other day and was asking me about like she was like they just everything is so expensive around here like where are these people like working where are they making all their money that they can afford all of this and a lot of it was generational wealth right in Madeira Beach right a lot of that was it had been handed down not necessarily that that was like that they were living this extraordinary life and like flying private jets but their family had purchased at a very early in history. I mean, Madeira Beach was founded in 47, for God's sakes. And a lot of these homes went up in the middle of the night, literally. And so they were never, they were all just built
And
together.
if the first floor didn't, the second floor definitely did in the 70s, went up in the middle of the
Right. No,
night.
that's exactly it. We decided to add a second floor in the 70s.
No man to
Exactly. That I think that, some of them have just been in their family since the dawn of time. And so it's not necessarily that they like have this extravagant life where it's like, only rich people live here. It wasn't that. It was just that over time, just like if you were to purchase something now, 100 years from now, or let's even just play it safe and say 50 years from now, the same conversation will happen of how do these people afford this back? How do these people afford it? And that, I think that coupling down with it has to work together, specifically in Florida. And just this, and in Florida, because we influx and everywhere did, but I think that has to happen too at the same time where they say, okay, like, wow, I didn't realize that wasn't as expensive.
Have you noticed it's kind of weird because it's like the same amount going out is coming in a different area specifically. I'm talking about kind of like trust fund, like investment groups
Yeah,
that bought up the unincorporateds, the Airbnbables, which nightly. I said that to someone the other day and they're like, I'm sorry, what's an Airbnb? And I'm like, I'm sorry, what? That anyway, nightly. So you can rent it nightly. So I know, I know. Well, it was kinda like the guy asking 2076.
right, exactly. Yeah,
I don't know if we
whatever.
told the good people of this story yet, but we
Yeah.
how old do you think he was?
Oh, he was young. He was so confused by my age. I had to, for the good people, I had to provide my birth year over the phone for a doctor's appointment, and he was incredibly confused about having to add a 19 in front of it.
Well, you said you go birth year, and you were like 76,
Mhm.
and apparently this kid goes
Yeah,
2076,
he was so confused.
and I would have been like, "Yeah, bitch, they call me Marty McFly. I'm actually calling you from the future.
Exactly.
Tell
Exactly.
no one."
I was like, I didn't even say anything mean to him at all, even though I was like, wow, what a way to make a girl feel good. I was like, because it wasn't even a matter of that. It was just raw stupidity. It was like, please help this soul. I mean, this guy is good luck in life. Good luck in
Well,
life.
we're just maybe he had had a day. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Yeah,
But,
exactly.
something to think about too when you talk about what's going on specifically in our market, like, and I'm not going to say 200 or $300,000, $350,000. That's a good amount of money.
Yes.
Okay. You could buy a hell of a house in the suburbs of Kansas City with
Yes.
that money.
Yes.
And I got to imagine in the outskirt areas of, well, maybe not the nicest places in Chicago. You guys are real proud of your shit, but just kidding.
We is.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when I look back on the tax records, for example, post hurricane, I'm talking 2017, 18, 19, there still were properties. Now we'll use the term landlocked, meaning that they weren't waterfront, they didn't have canals, they didn't have docks or whatever, but there were still houses that were being sold along these beaches for 200, 300, 350, $400,000 and things like that. It is weird because like you said, from 2019 on, all of a sudden it's like increase of,
Huge amount.
700% at one point or something stupid. And it's crazy, but I feel like it couldn't last like that
And
forever.
no, it just couldn't. It couldn't.
It couldn't.
And no one wanted it to last like that forever. I
No.
mean, and with the interest rates, I mean, it's just common. The higher the interest rate, the lower the price has to be. It's just the way it works. Or you have to just sacrifice the fact that you're not going to sell it as fast and as many. It's literally like just supply and demand, right? But I do think that probably has to couple with the interest rates for people to get off the sidelines. Taking condos, because the condos have been a mess for now a year and a half, and I think we're on the good side of the slope for the condos at this point,
Okay.
meaning they're not as messy as they were a year ago at this point, because they were still trying to get through those milestone reports, and they legally had to be through them at this point. But because of the hurricane, there's been a little bit of a grace period, as well as there's been stuff that, like, special assessments have had to happen because of that. And so I do believe we're on the other side of that kind of condo mess. But it was just a mess for everyone to understand last year. But
Yeah, I think it was a mess for the understanding of it, but I have to semi
it's so
disagree with
good.
the fact that there are some condo associations now that are screwed more than ever.
Yes.
Whether or not they pass through their milestone structural integrity report, there is plenty of them that I can walk here and visually see. And again, I'm not an engineer,
Yes,
And
right.
I
You
no
don't even play one on
way,
TV.
no way,
No,
no freaking way that thing's gonna pass what it passed in July of
no
last
way.
year.
No way.
No way. There's no way. And a lot of them are going to be in pretty big problems still because even let's say that with no existing conditions, part of the structural engineer report, they also had to do a reserve study.
Yes.
You and I both know that a lot of these freaking condominiums are underfunded.
Yeah, because they were
If
so happy they didn't move the needle at all on their
And guess
condo
what? They
fee
had
for so
2
long.
yeah, that well, and raising condo dues is like raising taxes. It's
Yes.
not popular, so let's kick the can,
Yeah.
and Carl and Betty and,
Yes. Yep.
Barbara, they've all been on the board for 30 years, and it's
Exactly.
like, and the other thing is when you have a group of people too that figure out we're large enough where we can self-fund, meaning that God forbid if something happens, we'll just pass a special assessment and get those funds. But in reality, that's why the reserve study was incorporated with the structural engineering, because you should have a savings account, just like every American should have a savings account, which not everyone does.
No, right.
But they always say you should have a little bit of money held back just in case. Well, unfortunately, we had two act of gods,
Yes,
okay,
exactly.
that did force majeure damage beyond.
Yeah.
And you and I both know that there's many buildings that are sitting up here don't have enough money for a new roof,
No,
don't have enough
no.
money to redo the pilings, doesn't have enough money to fix all of the slider doors that were knocked off the rail
Yeah.
or their
Yep.
tracks because
Their
they were put in
balconies. Yep. Yep.
1978. Interior wall
Their
water damage
pool,
from the
their
roof leaking.
balconies, all of those things. Their elevator. I mean,
It's
it's
everything. And there's
everything.
just no way that every building along here has $1 million.
Yes. No, there's just no, there really
You
isn't
know?
any way. And I,
So
I
in
think it was
reality,
necessary for them to clean it up, but clean up the process. It's too bad it wasn't done in a longer time span, just to not so. I mean, you don't want people to kick the can down the road, and that would have absolutely happened with some of it. But at least it, step one needs to be this, step two needs to be this, step three needs to be this by year three, and it could have just been a little bit more of an, I don't know, a strategic action plan than what it was. But nonetheless, I think that we're, uh, it, we'll see. I mean, time will tell.
I think the learning pains that the ones that went through last year and figured out, okay, we are either ahead of the game or we're gonna participate now and kind of set themselves up for success. Obviously, there's certain things that you can't budget for. They are disasters. You know what I mean? Like it's real life, but hopefully the people that went through this and things, and there's going to be others that thank God they had to go through that
Yeah.
because they got their shit in order before this happened. I think it's going to be a never ending saga, but you're absolutely right. I think that the majority of the ones, especially new builds, right? The condos that were the new builds that performed beautifully during the hurricane,
Yeah.
meaning they did what they were supposed to be
Yeah.
built
That's
to
right.
do.
They gave a safe
Okay.
place.
When we say they performed beautifully, we're not talking about the Nutcracker. We're talking about that these newer construction buildings did exactly what they were supposed to do during this type of disaster. And they performed to the codes, to the standards, to everything that they had been built to do.
Exactly.
Thank God.
Thank God is
So,
right. Thank God is right.
but hey, before we let the good people know, I have to remind ourselves that this is our last recording before the Super
Oh my
Bowl.
gosh. I'm sad it's going to be over.
I know we talked about this every Monday after the Super Bowl. I'm like, well, Trent and I are like, well, now what do we do?
I know. I know. I know.
So,
So, okay. So obviously you're a Chiefs fan.
no
Do you think
secrets.
it's going to
Yeah,
be close?
I do think it's going to be close. I'm not going to say that I'm not going to be nervous because I mean, Saquon Barkley.
And it's his
I mean,
birthday.
I'm not. Okay, make me feel more like an evil Disney queen,
Yeah,
okay?
it
Because
is
I'm
his
like,
birthday that day, I guess.
I'm happy for you, but you still have to lose. Like, sorry. And I'm like, hey, maybe next year, depending on your contract, you can come play for the Chiefs. We'll take
I
you.
know. Well, this is what I'll say is that I definitely think the Chiefs will win. And
I hope so.
I am usually a winner of I'm usually a champion to the underdog. I prefer to root for the underdog. But when it comes down to the actual W, I always want who I think should be the winner. So I will probably find myself at times rooting for it to be close.
Well, and here's the thing I'll mention too that might make you sleep better at night. Okay. In all other aspects, it looks like the Eagles are the underdogs. Okay.
Yep.
Right. Okay. But hear me out. The hatred and trash talk that the Chiefs are experiencing right now,
Yes.
nobody but Kansas City wants us to win. So actually, technically, I think we are, even though our we've gone there so many times and
Yeah.
so many roads. And I get it, we're not technically the underdog, but I honestly,
Well,
nobody wants us to
you
win
have
but
some
Kansas
bad
City.
juju going against you.
It's funny because Trent and I woke up and we're like, it's really funny because like, love my friends, so sorry about your season. Try not to be, like
Yeah.
narcissistic about it, but it's just they have run their mouths, the memes, the gifts, the messages, the trash talk. And I'm just
They're
like,
just going through the
okay,
12-step process of them being
we'll see.
out. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Good
we'll
luck.
see.
Good luck to
Exactly.
you. Good luck to you.
Yeah.
And I look evil or something about how I was, quote, well aware of the payroll that they're accusing of the stripes being on. But no, it's just, no.
No.
The Chiefs are going to win it. I do think it's going to be close. And if they
Which
don't
always
win,
makes for a good Super Bowl, truthfully. It does.
and honestly, you know what? If I knew that it wasn't going to matter for the three-peat of the first time in history for three teams to win the
Yeah,
Super
I
Bowl
get it.
three
I
times
get
in a
that.
row, you know what? I'm not even going to say it out loud.
I know, don't.
Not even going to say it out loud. I'd be like,
I think that's, and as someone that went through kind of the three-peat in Chicago, back in the NBA days, I get it. I totally get it. I totally get it. And I also get being hated. I get it. I just get it.
yeah,
It is what it is. And
we can't all have Michael Jordan.
no, we can't. We can't.
And
But
I'm not
I
sitting
mean,
here saying,
I think it's exciting. I'm excited for all of the Chief fans. I mean, that's a pretty awesome thing. If it honestly wasn't for the fact that like Saquon Barkley was on the Eagles, I would probably be rooting for the Chiefs, honestly, because Eagle fans are, I mean,
well, that's what we talked
they're
about last
rich.
episode. It's like, honestly, I'm sorry. Like, you don't like our wholesome team?
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay. All right. Go wear a different color other than green in Philadelphia and see what
Oh
happens to
yeah.
you, Trav.
I would never.
Like, no, no. You
Not
can
at all.
walk down the street in Kansas City in a different jersey, and normally nothing bad's gonna happen other than like, hey, you're not allowed to wear that. Hit. Like, stop. Somebody might yell Chiefs. Like,
That's
no
right.
one's gonna run up and be like, fuck your mother, blah, 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 like bah, bah. So I mean, on normal days.
Yes. I mean, just on a normal
Unless you're
Wednesday.
Joe Burrow circling Arrowhead in your stupid bus talking crap, then yes, game on, bro. Bring your bleach tips to Kansas City and see what happens. You'll be sitting down with a sad
Your
face on
eclectic outfits. That's right. Your eclectic outlets, right?
All right. Well, before I get too enraged with this,
Well,
go
we all
Chiefs.
wish you luck.
Thank you. Thank you. I know not everyone wishes that, but I know you do. So thank
I
you.
do. I do. I'll be happy for you. That's for sure.
Lynn will be happy. That's
Yeah,
all I
she
need.
will.
So
Yeah. Yep. Exactly.
perfect. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in again. Of course, we'll be back next week with another episode, and we will have plenty, I feel like, to talk about with next week's episode because it will be after the Super Bowl, right after it. So let's go. Hopefully, I'm wearing red and celebrating. Otherwise, it will be a dark day in history. No,
That's right.
but as always, please feel free to give us a follow and a like across the socials. We actually are working on all of our social media platforms right now, but we can be found on YouTube, of course, with Riverside Studios. And we actually have an Instagram page now,
Yeah,
right?
we do. I got to get that going, but we do. Yep.
Don't look over there yet,
Well,
but
yes,
more to
we'll get
come.
there.
Pay no mind. But anyway, we appreciate you guys. And again, if you have any topics or any questions that you'd like to see us cover, we are all ears. We would love to talk about things that you guys want to hear about. Otherwise, Stephanie, anything else for the good people?
No. Thanks for tuning in.
All right, guys, stay classy.
Yep.
See you next Tuesday.